My fingers hover above the keyboard, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows that overlook Austin's skyline. The contract draft on my screen worth 6 figures waits for my final revisions. I've built this life word by word, client by client, far from the ruins of what I once called family. My phone buzzes against the glass desk. Mom's name flashes on the screen for the first time in 12 years. My chest tightens as if steel bands are constricting around my lungs. The familiar anxiety, never quite extinguished, flares to life. I watch the phone vibrate, memories flooding back with each buzz. I press the silence button and return to my work. Some calls don't deserve answers. 12 years earlier, I push open our front door, backpack slung over one shoulder, to the sound of shouting. My steps falter in the hallway. She attacked me. Jake's voice cracks with what sounds like pain. Look what she did. I round the corner into the living room. Jake cradles his bruised hand against his chest, tears streaming down his face. Mom and Dad hover over him, their backs to me. What's going on? The words stick in my throat. They turn, and Mom's face contorts with disgust. What kind of monster attacks her own brother? I didn't touch him, I say, but the defense sounds hollow, even to me. This scene has played out too many times before Jake's accusations, their immediate belief. Dad straightens to his full height, looking down at me with cold eyes I barely recognize. You have 1 hour to pack, then you're gone. Dad, please, don't. His voice slices through the air. You crossed the line, Ava. We can't have this violence in our home. I didn't do anything. My voice rises, desperation clawing at my throat. Jake is lying. Again. Mom steps between us. We saw his hand. The hole in the wall. Don't make this worse by lying. I glance at Jake, still hunched on the couch. When our eyes meet, I catch at the flash of satisfaction that crosses his face when no one else is looking. The calculated triumph. The truth hits me with stunning clarity. I was never going to win this, not against the golden child, not against their willful blindness. 1 hour, Dad repeats, checking his watch. Not a minute more. Rain pounds against grandmother's door at midnight. I stand on her porch, soaked to the bone, a single suitcase clutched in my trembling hand. Water drips from my hair, mingling with tears I've fought to contain for hours. The door swings open. Grandmother's small frame fills the entrance, her eyes widening at the sight of me. Ava? She pulls me inside without hesitation. What happened? They kicked me out. The words burn my throat. Jake told them I attacked him, punched a hole in the wall. She helps me out of my wet jacket, her movements efficient but gentle. He lied again, didn't he? I nod, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. The crushing weight of injustice presses down on my chest until I can barely breathe. Grandmother's knowing eyes hold mine. She doesn't ask for details or evidence. She doesn't question my version. She simply believes me. She disappears into her bedroom and returns moments later, pressing something into my palm. I look down to see 2 crisp $100 bills. This is all I can do for now, she whispers. Use it wisely. I curl up on her couch later that night, staring at the ceiling, a silent vow forming in my heart. I'll never need them again. The next morning, I fill out 3 job applications before noon. My hand shakes as I sign my name, the reality of my situation settling onto my shoulders like a physical weight. That night, I cry myself to sleep, the question haunting me, did I deserve this somehow? The following day, I buy a small notebook with part of grandmother's money. I begin writing my story, the truth no one wanted to hear. The words flow from me, raw and unfiltered. Grandmother finds me on the 3rd day, hunched over the notebook at her kitchen table. Your words will be your salvation someday, she says, squeezing my shoulder. Keep writing, Ava. The truth has power, even when no one's ready to hear it. I look up at her, the only ally I have left in this world. I will. What would you do if your entire family turned against you because of one calculated lie? For me, this betrayal wasn't the end of my story. It was only the beginning of my rise. But when those who abandoned me come crawling back, how far would you go to make them face the truth? My eyelids feel like sandpaper as I shuffle through the diner's back door at midnight. The smell of grease and coffee clings to my hair, a badge of my 8-hour shift. 2 textbooks and a crumpled scholarship application wait in my backpack, silent judges of the study time I'm about to lose to sleep. See you tomorrow, Ava. Marco, the night cook, waves as I punch out. I manage a nod, already calculating the 5 hours until my alarm will drag me to my morning retail job. My uniform shirt, the second of three, I'll wear toe digs into my armpits, still damp with sweat from rushing between tables. The bus ride home is a blur of streetlights and half-formed dreams. I jolt awake at my stop, heart racing with the momentary panic of almost missing it. Grandmother's house is dark, except for the porch light she always leaves burning for me. In my tiny room, I spread the scholarship application on my desk and uncap my pen. The essay prompt swims before my eyes. Describe a challenge you've overcome and how it shaped your educational goals. I laugh a sharp, bitter sound in the quiet room. Where to begin? My pen hovers over the page. This is attempt 17. The previous 16 versions lie in a folder beside me, each one too angry, too desperate, or too revealing. I need this money, but I need my dignity more. I write until the numbers on my alarm clock blur. When my head finally drops onto my textbook, the pen still clutched in my hand, I dream of blank walls without accusers. The rejection letter sits on my desk, its crisp edges mocking my frayed nerves. While your application showed promise, I don't read the rest. Instead, I reach for 5 more applications I printed at the library yesterday. Each one represents another chance, another door that might open. I place my hand on my collarbone, breathing deeply before beginning again. The custodial job at the community center pays less than the diner, but lets me work after classes. I push mops across floors while other students attend parties. I memorize marketing theories while scrubbing toilets, reciting definitions under my breath like prayers. You're the hardest worker I've ever seen, my supervisor tells me, signing my overtime sheet without question. What he doesn't understand is that hard work isn't a choice for me, it's survival. College orientation buzzes with excited chatter and parental advice. I stand alone, clutching my campus map, watching families take photos and share proud embraces. My stomach knots when a father adjusts his daughter's hair before snapping a picture. First generation? A girl with bright blue hair appears beside me, her smile kind. I nod, not correcting her assumption. It's simpler than explaining that my family exists but chose not to be here. Me too, she extends her hand. I'm Tara. Want to tackle registration together? That afternoon, I scanned the course catalog for practical classes business writing. Marketing analytics, but a creative writing elective catches my eye. An indulgence? A voice in my head warns. You can't afford indulgences. I register for it anyway. This is what raw talent looks like. Professor Martinez holds up my essay, her voice filling the classroom. Heat crawls up my neck as 24 pairs of eyes turn toward me. Ava has captured the essence of displacement without melodrama or self-pity. I stare at my notebook, unsure how to process praise for words born from pain. The essay, a thinly veiled account of standing alone at a bus stop with one suitcase, wasn't meant to impress anyone. It was just the truth. Later, the professor catches me after class. You should submit this to the college magazine. They pay contributors, she adds when I hesitate, correctly reading the calculation in my eyes. Not much, but it's a start. 3 weeks later, I hold a check for $25 in a magazine, with my name in print. I trace the letters, something unfamiliar expanding in my chest. Not pride, yet something more tentative. Possibility? My dorm room closet becomes my first office. A desk lamp clamped to the shelf illuminates the wall where I've pinned freelance listings. Red circles mark completed jobs website copy for a local bakery, product descriptions for an Etsy shop, blog posts about topics I research at midnight. My spreadsheet tracks my growing rates: $50, then $100, finally $500 per article as my portfolio expands. Each cell represents another step away from dependence, another break in the wall between my past and future. The day I calculate that my writing income exceeds my weekend job's paycheck, I allow myself a single celebratory coffee before returning to work. Freedom has a price, and I'm still paying installments. On graduation day, I scan the audience out of habit, though I know what I'll find. 3 seats in the front row hold my entire support system grandmother, her silver hair catching the sun, Tara with her now purple hair, and Professor Martinez, who became my mentor and first professional reference. No parents, no Jake. The absence should hurt, but instead, it clarifies. I built this without them. I will build everything else the same way. That night, checking my email at grandmother's kitchen table, I find a message from a tech startup. Your portfolio impressed us. Can you handle 10 articles a month? The guaranteed $3,000 monthly income feels like solid ground beneath my feet after years of shifting sand. 3 months later, I sign a lease on my own apartment, small but mine, with a desk position to catch the morning light. This course costs more than your rent, grandmother points out when I show her the brand strategy workshop registration. It's an investment. I place my hand on my collarbone, a gesture she recognizes. She studies my face, then nods. Your words are your capital. Invest wisely. The course connects me to clients beyond content writing, brands needing coherent marketing strategies, companies seeking distinctive voices. I send 50 cold emails to companies I admire. 5 respond. One becomes my first corporate client, offering a $5,000 contract that I reviewed 3 times before believing the number. The first year at clear 6 figures, I celebrate alone in my apartment with a bottle of champagne I've been saving. I pour a glass and stand at my window, watching Austin's lights flicker on as evening falls. Each one represents another person, another story. Mine is just beginning. My name glows on the last page of the contract, black ink against crisp white paper, binding me to a household name in tech. I trace my finger over the zeros in the payments section. $25,000 for a 3-month campaign. More money than I made my entire first year after being kicked out. We'll need your signature on page 12 as well, Miss Mitchell. The company's legal representative slides another document across the glass conference table. His Rolex catches the light as he moves. I sign without hesitation. My hand doesn't shake anymore when faced with opportunities that once would have overwhelmed me. Excellent. The marketing director, Elise, clasps her hands together. And you've prepared the content strategy presentation? I nod, connecting my laptop to the projector. The boardroom falls silent as executives in tailored suits lean forward. My heart pounds as the first slide appears, but my voice remains steady. This is my territory now. 20 minutes later, after detailing conversion metrics and engagement strategies, I click to my final slide. Elise stands before I can conclude. The content strategy is exceptional, she says, but we'd like to propose an addition. I tense, bracing for criticism. We want you to be the face of this campaign, not just the writer. The room tilts slightly. I don't understand. Your journey is compelling self-made success, authenticity in a world of corporate speak. Elise gestures as if framing me for a photograph. Our audience responds to real stories. Yours is perfect. I leave the meeting with my mind spinning. My words have always been my shield, safely distanced from my identity. Now they want me front and center. We need authentic voices like yours, says the email invitation to speak at the West Coast Tech Conference. My cursor hovers over the delete button, but I click accept instead. 3 weeks later, I stand backstage, counting breaths. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. The technique keeps my anxiety at bay as the previous speaker wraps up. Next up, discussing brand authenticity in the digital age, please welcome Ava Mitchell. The spotlights blind me as I walk onto the stage. 500 faces stare back, industry leaders, innovators, and influencers. My prepared notes suddenly seem inadequate. I set them aside. My journey to this stage began the night I was kicked out of my home at 17. I say, my voice softer than intended. The audience leans forward collectively, straining to hear. A calculated lie destroyed my family relationships, but it also forced me to find my voice. The words flow after that. I speak about resilience, about riding my way out of poverty, about building a business from nothing. The audience nods, some wiping away tears. Authenticity isn't something you can fake, I conclude. It's what remains when everything else is stripped away. The applause thunders through the convention center. What I don't realize as I bow slightly and exit the stage is that conference cameras have broadcast my speech to millions online. Authenticity, it turns out, is also marketable. My phone won't stop buzzing. Notifications flood the screen as I try to order coffee, the next morning meals from industry leaders seeking collaboration, messages from social media platforms about verification requests, texts from former clients congratulating me. Your usual? Asked the barista. I nod, scrolling through the chaos. 3 magazine editors want to profile my journey. A publishing house is interested in a potential memoir. A television producer asks if I'd consider a guest spot on their entrepreneurship show. Then I see Ito text message that stops me cold. Ava, we need to talk. It's been too long, darling mom. 12 years of silence, and now she needs to talk. The timing is hardly coincidental. I pocket my phone without responding and take my coffee to a corner table, needing to process this unexpected blast from the past. By evening, I've made a decision. I text back with a time and place at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory. Better to face this head on than wonder what they want. The coffee shop door chimes as they enter. They look older, dad's hair now completely gray, mom's face lined in ways I don't remember. But their demeanor remains unchanged, that particular blend of entitlement and judgment that defined my childhood. I remain seated as they approach, forcing them to come to me. Ava. Mom's eyes well with tears that I suspect are practiced. We've missed you so much, darling. Dad settles into the chair across from me, his expression solemn. You look well. Success suits you. Thank you, I reply, keeping my voice neutral. How did you find me? Your speech, Mom says, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. It was all over our social feeds. You've always had such a way with words. Dad clears his throat. Families should stick together no matter what. It's been too long and life is short. We should put the past behind us. His words sound rehearsed, as if he practiced them in the car on the way over. I take a sip of my coffee, noting how neither of them has actually apologized. How's Jake? I ask. The silence that follows is thick and awkward. Mom fidgets with her wedding ring while Dad suddenly becomes interested in the menu board. He's doing fine, Mom finally says. I wait, but no further details are offered. Interesting. After several minutes of strained small talk about the weather and my apartment neighborhood, Dad leans forward. We're so proud of what you've accomplished, Ava. And it seems like you're doing quite well for yourself. I know where this is heading. What do you want, Dad? Mom interjects quickly. We've hit a bit of a rough patch. Your father's retirement fund took a hit with the market downturn, and I've had some medical issues. Nothing serious, Dad adds, but the bills have been substantial. He reaches into his briefcase and slides a document across the table. I glance down at itemized costs for house renovations, totaling $50,000. We're a family, Dad says, his tone suggesting this explains everything. Family helps each other, right? When I don't immediately respond, his expression hardens. A flash of familiar anger crosses his face, the same look he gave me the night he ordered me to leave. I have a question, I say, my voice surprisingly calm. Did you ever believe me about what really happened with Jake? Mom shifts uncomfortably in her seat, avoiding my eyes. Dad waves his hand dismissively. The past is the past. Jake was a kid. We all make mistakes. In that moment, everything becomes crystal clear. Nothing has changed. 12 years, and they still choose Jake. They still believe his lies. They still see me as nothing more than a resource to be used. I stand up, gathering my things. I have one condition. I'll help you under one condition. My voice remains steady as I deliver these words, despite the hurricane of emotions swirling inside my chest. The afternoon sun filters through the cafe windows, casting my parents in a harsh light that reveals every line etched into their faces by time and choices. Name it, my father says, relief washing over his features. He reaches for his wallet, as if preparing to write down payment terms. I fold my hands on the table. I want a family gathering. Everyone, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. My mother's smile flickers, uncertainty creeping in. A reunion? After all this time? Not a reunion. I meet her eyes. A confession. The word hangs between us like a dropped bomb. My father's hand freezes mid-reach. I want you both to admit what really happened. Tell everyone how you chose to believe Jake without evidence. And Jake, I take a deliberate breath, needs to confess that he lied about me attacking him. My mother's face drains of color. My father's knuckles whiten as he grips the edge of the table. You can't be serious. His laugh is incredulous, brittlest than ice. Completely serious. My mother leans forward, her voice dropping to an urgent whisper. We can't humiliate Jake like that. His reputation. What about my reputation? The question slices through her plea. The one he destroyed? The one you helped him destroy? Their silence confirms what I've always known. My father attempts to negotiate. We could say it was a misunderstanding, that we all misinterpreted. The truth or nothing, I interrupt. Your choice. They exchange glances loaded with 12 years of protected lies. My father nods almost imperceptibly, and they both stand. We need to discuss this. I watch through the window as they huddle outside the cafe, heads bent together in furious whispers. My father gestures sharply. My mother dabs at her eyes. The familiar choreography of their joint manipulation. When my mother returns alone, fresh tears streak her makeup. Jake has a good job now. This would ruin him. He lives with you still, doesn't he? I ask, though I already know the answer from their financial documents. She nods, eyes avoiding mine. He's saving for his own place. At 33, my father returns, sliding into his chair with the imperious air that once terrified me. You need to let this go if you want to be part of this family. The ultimatum meant to wound, to control washes over me without leaving a mark. I already have a family, I reply calmly. People who actually care about me. I gather my belongings and stand, leaving my coffee half finished. When you're ready to tell the truth, you have my number. I walk out, back straight, eyes forward. The weight I expected to feel, guilt, regret, longing, is mysteriously absent. Instead, a lightness fills my chest as I breathe in the spring air. In my car, I dial my grandmother. They chose him. Again, I tell her when she answers. They always will. Her voice carries the wisdom of years watching this pattern unfold. That's why you needed to leave. I drive home to my apartment, the evening sunlight gilding the city skyline. The peace I feel isn't what I expected. For years, I imagined confronting them would reopen old wounds. Instead, it's confirmed that the distance between us is necessarily a protective boundary rather than a punishment. At midnight, my phone lights up with a text. Jake. Still playing the victim? Pathetic. I watch the ellipsis bubble as he types more. Don't think you can turn the family against me. They'll never believe you over me. The final text contains a photo. Jake with our parents, arms slung around each other's shoulders, smiling widely. Taken today, after our meeting. A visual reminder of their allegiance. But what Jake doesn't realize is that he's just made a critical mistake. In trying to hurt me, he's given me exactly what I need. His next text confirms it. Everyone knows you're lying about what happened. I never touched that wall. You're the one who went crazy. I screenshot everything immediately, my fingers working with methodical precision. Each message, each damning word saved. Evidence secured. Jake has finally admitted to the lie in writing, not directly, but clear enough for what I need. The mistake he doesn't realize he's made sends a rush of vindication through my veins. The next morning, I arrange the screenshots in chronological order, creating a document that tells a story 12 years in the making. I forward everything to Melissa, a lawyer I've befriended through networking events. Can we meet? Today, if possible. 3 hours later, we sit across from each other at a quiet corner table in a downtown café, the one where I confronted my parents. That place feels tainted now. Do I have grounds for defamation? I ask, sliding my phone across the table. Melissa scrolls through the screenshots, her professional demeanor briefly cracking as she reads Jake's words. This is remarkably explicit. She looks up, lawyer mode fully engaged. Potentially actionable. The statute of limitations is tricky since the original incident happened when you were minors, but these new messages restart the clock. The photo with your parents after the meeting adds context that strengthens your case. Her fingers tap thoughtfully against the tabletop. We could file suit, claim emotional distress, demand financial compensation for reputational damage. She studies my face. Is that what you want, though? Legal action? I consider her question as I stir my latte, watching the swirls of cream dissolve into the coffee. The path before me branches in two directions. Pursue them legally, drag everything into public record, force them to defend their lies under oath, or find another way. I don't want their money, I finally say, the realization crystallizing as I speak it aloud. I want the truth exposed. I want them to face what they did not in a courtroom, but in the court of our family, our community. Truth over compensation, Melissa nods. That's actually rare in my line of work. Truth is the only currency they've never offered, I say. It's the one thing they can't buy their way out of. She slides the phone back across the table. Then you have options beyond litigation. A carefully crafted email to family members with these screenshots attached. A request for statements from those who witnessed Jake's pattern of behavior. Documentation from your grandmother about what she observed. As she speaks, a strategy forms in my mind, clear, precise, and devastating in its simplicity. This isn't about revenge, I say, the conviction in my voice surprising even me. This is about finally being heard, about making sure no one else gets treated the way I was. Just remember, Melissa warns, even justified actions have consequences. Are you prepared for the fallout? I think about the 12 years I've lived without them, the strength I've built, the life I've created. They already took everything they could from me. All that's left is the truth, and that was never theirs to keep. I look down at Jake's messages again. 12 years of lies condensed into careless confessions. The ammunition is now in my hands, not for destruction, but for liberation. The question is no longer what will I do with it, but when. Evidence spreads across my desk like a battlefield map. Old diary pages yellowed and worn bear witness to Jake's patterns in my careful teenage handwriting. Screenshots of texts glow on my tablet screen, his words illuminated in digital permanence. A voice recording sits ready on my phone. Grandmother's steady voice recounting what she saw the day Jake claimed I attacked him. And finally, the photos I'd forgotten. I had snapshots of an undamaged wall taken hours after Jake claimed I punched through it. 12 years of silence ends tonight. My fingers hover over the keyboard, not unlike they did when Mom's call interrupted my workday last week. But this time, I'm not the one being interrupted. I'm the one taking control. The email is already drafted, waiting. I read it over one more time. To my extended family. I haven't shared my side of the story until now. Here's why I disappeared 12 years ago. I'm not seeking money or sympathy. I don't ask for your judgment. I only want the truth known. Attached, you'll find documentation that speaks for itself. Ava, simple, factual, devoid of accusations or emotional pleas. Just the truth organized chronologically in a neat PDF attachment. I click send before I can reconsider. The whoosh of the outgoing message sounds like freedom. Within an hour, my inbox starts to fill. I always suspected something wasn't right. Aunt Sarah's message arrives first, her words confirming what I'd sometimes wondered had others seen through Jake's act. Uncle Mark's message hits harder. Jake tried to blame our son for stealing money last Christmas. We didn't believe him, but we never connected the dots to what happened with you. The most painful response comes from Cousin Rachel. He told everyone you had mental problems. I'm so sorry we believed him. I should have reached out sooner. My phone starts ringing, names I haven't seen in years flashing on the screen. I let most go to voicemail, needing time to process this flood of long overdue support. When my phone vibrates with Jake's name, my chest tightens. I answer on speaker, setting it on my desk while I continue organizing responses. What the hell do you think you're doing? His voice sounds different, pitched higher, with a tremor I've never heard before. Sharing my side of the story, I reply, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. You can't do this. People are calling me, asking questions. That must be uncomfortable for you. His breathing turns ragged. It was just teenage stuff. Why are you doing this now? It was 12 years ago. I say nothing, letting the silence stretch between us. Fine, I hit the wall myself, but you weren't innocent, he suddenly blurts, then immediately curses under his breath. I end the call and save the recording. My phone continues buzzing with notifications. A group text from my parents to relatives appears. Ava is manipulating everyone for money. She approached us recently asking for help with her failing business. A bold lie. Evidence of more manipulation. Within minutes, family members flood the thread with screenshots of my success, links to my speaking engagements, and copies of my evidence. Mom's tearful voicemail comes next. Why are you destroying this family after everything we've done for you? I deleted halfway through. Dad's email arrives with clinical precision. We'll never forgive you for this public humiliation. Some things should remain private, Ava. When I call grandmother to update her, she sighs deeply. They're afraid of losing face with the country club crowd. Your parents care more about appearances than truth. Always have. I know, I say, surprised by the absence of pain in my chest. I'm meeting with my attorney tomorrow. The meeting with my attorney is brief and productive. She drafts a cease and desist letter while I watch, her fingers flying across the keyboard with practiced efficiency. Any further contact or defamatory statements will result in legal action, she reads back to me. We'll deliver copies to your parents' home and Jake's workplace. Is this excessive? I ask, watching her print the documents. She looks up, her expression serious. Boundaries require enforcement, Ava, especially with people who've shown they don't respect them. 3 days later, silence descends a different kind than the 12-year absence that preceded this confrontation. The silence feels lighter, cleaner. The absence of toxic voices creates space for others. When Aunt Julia's email arrives with a Thanksgiving invitation, I read it twice to make sure I understand. We should have reached out years ago. We were wrong. The family would love to have you join us, your parents, and Jake won't be there. It's time we got to know the real you. I accept without hesitation. Standing in Julia's dining room 2 weeks later, surrounded by relatives who now know the truth, I feel a strange new sensation belonging without fear. When they gather for a family photo, the first in 12 years without my parents or Jake, I don't hesitate to step into frame. As the camera flashes, capturing this new beginning, I realize that family isn't defined by blood, but by those who stand by the truth. I chose integrity over manipulation and discovered a support system I never knew existed. My parents and Jake have faded into silence, but I face my future unburdened by their toxicity. Sometimes the family you choose is more powerful than the one you're born into. Would you have had the courage to do what I did? Your words matter, I tell the small crowd gathered at New Horizons Youth Shelter. My voice carries across the room where 30 teenagers sit, some leaning forward, others with arms crossed defensively. I recognize the posture, the armor I once wore daily. When someone takes away your voice, writing gives it back to you. A girl in the back row catches my eye. Thin frame, wary expression, notebook clutched against her chest like a shield. I was her once. 2 years ago, I was just another content writer. Today, I'm launching Write Your Way Out, a mentorship and scholarship program for young writers who've been displaced or abandoned. I explain how each accepted student will receive professional guidance, publishing opportunities, and a percentage of my income allocated to fund their education. The words flow easily now, practiced from months of planning. Sometimes the people who should love you the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest, I say, watching recognition flash across their faces. But that doesn't have to be the end of your story. After the presentation, the girl from the back approaches, knuckles white around her notebook. Can I really make it like you did? Her voice barely rises above a whisper. I meet her eyes directly. Yes, and I'll help you. Laughter fills my apartment as Sophie raises her champagne glass. Sunlight streams through the windows, catching on the cityscape of Austin stretched out 30 floors below. My 30th birthday feels nothing like I imagined in those dark days on grandmother's couch. To Ava, Sophie announces, who survived what was meant to break her. 12 people surround my dining table, friends who appeared in my life when I needed them most. My agent, 2 college roommates, writers I mentored who became colleagues, a neighbor who brought soup when I was sick and stayed to become family. In the place of honor sits grandmother, her frame smaller than I remember from childhood, but her eyes still sharp. The oxygen tank beside her chair is new. The proud smile is not. As everyone clinks glasses, I notice what doesn't hurt anymore: the absence of my parents and Jake. That space has filled with something better. I never dreamed you'd build all this, grandmother says later, her hand trembling slightly as she gestures around the room. I squeeze her fingers gently. You gave me the foundation. The letter arrives on cream stationery, postmarked from London. Dear Ava, I've just returned after 5 years abroad. My son James showed me everything: your emails, the evidence, all of it. I should have contacted you sooner. I suspected Jake's nature for years. The way your parents enabled him, they couldn't face the truth. It was too painful to admit they'd created the monster themselves. If you're willing, I'd like to meet when I visit Austin next month. Your aunt? Eleanor. I fold the letter carefully, sliding it back into its envelope. The rage that once would have ignited at any mention of my family has cooled to something resembling understanding. Not forgiveness. I don't owe them that, but recognition of the broken systems that created all of us. I don't need their acknowledgement anymore. The doctors say 6 months, grandmother whispers, her bedroom at the assisted living facility bathed in afternoon light. Maybe less. I sit beside her, our hands intertwined on the quilt she made decades ago. You did what I never could, she says. You broke the cycle. From beneath her pillow, she pulls out a leather-bound book. I've kept this since the night you arrived at my door. Every step, every triumph. I open to the first page, see her neat handwriting documenting the night everything changed. Ava arrived tonight, soaked through, one suitcase. They've thrown her away, but they don't know what they've lost. This is your story, she says. Use it to help others see their own strength. The memoir takes shape on the same kitchen table where I once filled out job applications with shaking hands. Words flow from my fingers, 12 years of distance giving clarity to the pain. When I reach the dedication page, I don't hesitate. For my grandmother, who believed me. The publisher calls with the offer 6 figures for my story, the amount my parents once needed from me. The irony isn't lost on me. I send the advance copy to their address, not for reconciliation but acknowledgement. The return receipt comes back with my mother's signature, proof it was received, even if never read. Waves crash below the cliffside riding retreat in Santorini. My laptop open, I check my email one last time before disconnecting for the day. Miss Mitchell, I got accepted to college. Full scholarship. You were right about everything. Thank you for believing me. Mia. I smile, tucking my hair behind my ear as I close the email. The final page of grandmother's journal sits beside me, finally read after her funeral last month. She will thrive without them. I close the journal and open a new document. It's time to write the next chapter.